Hank, welcome into the Blitz. How you doing this morning?
Hey, Martin, I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Well, Hank, another quiet week for the most part. So I'll let you kind of give an update on what's been happening behind the scenes and with Alabama and their recruiting.
Yeah, it's just kind of a standard spring, I guess, or May week. The main thing Alabama's up to right now is that the assistant coaches are out on the road evaluating guys. We're seeing, it feels like 10 offers going out a day. And if you follow recruiting closely enough, most of these offers aren't offers that a kid can just say, "Oh, cool, I'm going to commit." Most of them are say, "Hey, we like you. We want you to come out and camp at Alabama this summer, and we want to see a little bit more of you." Some offers, of course, are, "Hey, we really like you. You can commit." But when there's like 250 or something offers out, clearly there's not enough spaces for everybody. But that's pretty much what the staff has been up to. There's been a number of stops. They've been all over the country. I know Tosh Lupoy was in Seattle seeing the number 2 player in the country for 2020 earlier this week. Mike Loxley and Jeff Banks were seeing one of their top tight end targets in Lakeland. That's Keon Zipper. He was playing in the spring game last night. But it's been a quiet week, but I think Bama may have some good news in store for it coming up tomorrow on Friday when Antonio Alfano announced his decision. He's a big defensive line target of Alabama's. He's going to be making a commitment tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Time. So
who's that? Who's making the commitment?
Antonio Alfano. He's a 4-star defensive lineman from New Jersey. We've written about him a few times. He visited Tuscaloosa in April. He's one of the most. He's like a freakish defensive lineman. If you follow, sorry, go ahead.
No, is he the teammate of last year's commit? No, that's he was out of Maryland, Ayoba.
No, he's
okay.
This is from Colonia, New Jersey.
New Jersey.
He'll be
is this the guy that had the test numbers that were like equivalent to a couple of the nation's top running backs in your Spark scoring?
Yeah, I think his Spark score were.
God.
It was like comparable. It would have been like one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL draft combine this year. I think what his were. He had a ridiculous score. He ran like a 4.82 at 275 pounds and had a 36-inch vertical jump. He's an athletic freak.
Wow.
So he's going to be choosing between Alabama, Penn State, and Georgia tomorrow. I like Alabama's chances for him right now, and we'll see kind of what he does after that if he continues to take visits. But yeah, I mean, to add him to a defensive line, he's a borderline 5-star type guy who I continue to probably keep rising in the rankings. I mean, he's number 58 right now, and he's shown off his skill set this spring thus far. He'll be at the opening next month in Dallas. So, really good player that I think if Bama lands, they're gonna get a good one.
All right, hey, we got a question for Pat. Pat, welcome into the Blitz. You're on with Hank.
I've got a really new respect for how hard Hank's job is. I've been doing some serious research for today's call. And, hey, that Alfonso guy, that he is absolutely legit, that the speed is unreal, matches Jerez Parks. Coach Saban continues to do a wonderful job. Hey, but what I want to talk about is a fellow named Jalen McCullough. I think we may have found our running back when we're actually recruiting him as a safety, and I wanted to see what Hank thinks about that. McCullough, from the film that I've watched on him, hey, man, he looks special at running back. I'll hang up and listen to see what Hank has to say about that.
Thanks, Pat. All right, Hank.
Yeah, he's certainly he's a top 100 safety. He's ranked as a safety in our 24/7 Sports rankings. But yeah, some schools are actually recruiting him as a running back. Jalen McCullough, he goes to Powder Springs Hillgrove, which is the same high school as Kenyon Drake. He's been a long-time target. I feel like we've been talking about him for forever. He's made several visits to Alabama. I know he went twice in 1 week last year for camp and then for the Champions Cookout last summer. I think he went to like 2 or 3 games this fall, and then he was back on campus for A-Day. He came out with a top 4 on, I guess, the night before last. Alabama was in it, of course. Auburn, Tennessee, and South Carolina are the other schools in it as well. But for a long time, I thought Alabama led for him. I think that's still probably the case. I'm not sure when he wants to make a decision. He's been saying the season. I think it could probably be sooner than that. But yeah, he's recruited as safety, but Bama doesn't have a running back. Maybe they give him a look as a running back. I know some schools are recruiting him solely as a running back. I believe South Carolina is recruiting him just as a running back, which is another one of his top schools. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, Bama's still recruiting all these big-time running backs, Trey Sanders, Jerry Neely. They're at John Emery Jr.'s spring game last night in Louisiana. So there's a lot of guys still out there. Maybe McCullough emerges as a guy they look at as a running back, but for now, I still believe it's safety is where they're liking that currently. I know he said at A-Day, Saban sees him as kind of a Minka Fitzpatrick, Ronnie Harrison, I guess, blend. So He has pretty high praise from the staff.
That if we know Saban doesn't give pipe dreams. If he's putting this kid in that potential category, because that's one thing Saban operates on, not hypotheticals, but potential. That's definitely some high praise. We're neighbors with two states. One is known traditionally for having unbelievable talent in Georgia. But when you look at per capita, is Mississippi off the charts this year with talent? I know there's four prospects in terms of the D-line alone: Jaron Handy, Charles Moore, Nathan Pickering, Byron Young. From the D-line standpoint, you're looking at linebackers and Dean and others. Is Mississippi State having an unusually high number of prospects, especially based on the per capita, or is it just that they're in the need positions that Alabama has?
No, I think, Mississippi's insane this year. And that was we drove through. I went through with one of our other 24/7 sports writers a couple weeks ago. We drove through Mississippi, and even coaches in Tennessee and Alabama were talking about how good Mississippi was this year. That Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game next December is going to be one to watch, considering the talent in Alabama this year as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, defensive linemen, they got them. Linebackers, they got them. And there's a lot of guys we're not even talking about that are in Mississippi that are just really talented guys, like Jerry and Jones, Bama likes him a lot. He's a 4-star safety cornerback guy who's committed to Oklahoma, but he didn't really get a lot of hype. And he's one of those big-time guys. There's a few others we saw. Derek Hall, who's in Gulfport, he's a kind of a jack linebacker type guy. Bama hasn't offered him, but they're looking at him. You mentioned the defensive linemen, the linebackers, Jerry Neely, the running back. There's a lot of talent. And I think somebody told us, I think the entire population of Mississippi, the state of Mississippi, is less than the population of Dade County in Florida. I'd have to check on that, but that's just insane. Think of that. So yeah, it's a really strong year in Mississippi, and Bama is certainly working to kind of take advantage of that and land some of those guys.
Yeah, Hank, I really want to get into that a little deeper because it's up for top linemen, as we mentioned, and I want to kind of do a comparison, but going to move on from that at this point so we can dig a little deeper. And one other question I will ask y'all for that. Do you think that the Raekwon Davis, I know we don't talk about him like we do Tua, but we know Tua is going to have an impact on us getting guys from Hawaii and from the West Coast. Is Raekwon Davis, is his success potentially having that type of impact on the Mississippi guys? And if he has a great year and these guys don't commit to late, could it have an even bigger impact?
Yeah, I've asked them all. They're all from the same state. Raekwon was obviously from Meridian, Mississippi. Kind of if that played a role. They all know him and they all recognize that he came from Mississippi, and I think it helps to some extent. But I think the most, what could help the most is like you said, if Raekwon has another great year and leaves early for the NFL draft, he's going to need a replacement. So I think that could certainly help with some of these guys' decisions if they do decide late. None of them we talked to, all four of those guys, they don't really have decision timelines. Most of them are staying late, but I don't think it'd be a shock if any of them kind of just spontaneously made a commitment at some point. But yeah, I think it certainly helps to see guys that have gone to from Mississippi succeed at Alabama. We'll see if Nigel Knott has a big year for his junior season or redshirt sophomore season. And then obviously Scott Lashley's from Mississippi as well. So we saw them really kind of have a strong year in 2016. I think 2019 could be even better for them in the state.
Wow. Yeah, it's just crazy because it's like every time you're talking about top players, if you list it in virtually every position, there's a kid out of Mississippi in the category somewhere in that top 10. Speaking with Hank South, 247 Sports Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, tell our listeners first of all, where they can find you, what's going on, and if there's any news we can expect in terms of recruiting within the next week before we catch up again.
Yeah, you can follow us along at BamaOnline.com, 24/7 Sports. We're doing, I believe, a free 7-day trial right now is our current promotion. It's a great time to sign up. It's about to be camp season, so June is going to be a crazy month. There's a camp every weekend. Obviously, the schedule is different this year. July is a dead period, so all the camps will be in June. So it'll be back-to-back-to-back camps. It'll be busy. You can follow me along at Hank South 247 on Twitter. And then as far as news in the next couple of weeks, like I said at the beginning of the call, I think Antonio Alfano is one to watch tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Time. We'll figure out probably how to do a live stream at some point, or I'm sure somebody will be there that has live streaming capabilities on their phone. And then another guy I'd watch probably in the next couple of weeks is Will Reichard, the kicker out of Hoover. I feel like we've been saying this since February, like it's going to be soon, but I think he is going to be making a decision soon, probably sometime next week, if not the week after that. Alabama, I think, is in a pretty good spot for him at this point. Georgia, LSU, Oregon, and Oklahoma are kind of schools he's looking at as well. So possibly 2 more commitments by the end of the month, if not more, and then obviously they roll into June, and there's always seems to be some camp commitments as well. So should be a busy next couple months.
All right. And Hank, I know you'll be talking about the Elite 11. You'll be talking about the opening and those things. So once again, tell our listeners where they can follow your work.
Yeah, definitely. BamaOnline.com. It's alabama.247sports.com. Like I said, we have a free 7-day trial right now. And yeah, the Elite 11 is beginning of June. Both Paul Tyson and Talia Tagovailoa have invites, so they'll be out there competing against the nation's best for an invite to the opening finals in Dallas. So that'll be certainly something fun to watch and kind of compare those guys where they stand against the rest of the nation's top quarterbacks.
All right. That's Hank South. At Hank South 247 is where he tweets out those articles. At Hank South 247. Thanks, Hank. We'll catch up with you next week.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, everyone.